Good morning, everybody. I hope this video finds you well. Today I want to do a basic video and I want to talk a little bit about the interface, which I have referred to previously as the surface of the ocean. It's a very, very good visual depiction of the terrain that we live upon. And again, just a quick review. In the quantum world, there is a hierarchy or a stratification of quanta. This is recognized by all religions. Sometimes, like for instance, Eastern religions talk about the causal plane or the mental plane or the etheric plane, and if you're Indian, you know about the different planes of existence and all this. I just simplify things very, very simply. You have a three-tiered structure. Okay, you have a dense structure which could resemble a lot like an ocean. The further deep you go, the deeper you go, the heavier the water pressure is. And then you have the air above the ocean, and the higher you go up above that air, the lighter your being is and the higher energy and space that you can go about. And that's basically my simplification. Well, the interface between the denser parts and the lighter parts is, of course, the surface. And I have told everybody, and I've said this in my earlier presentations, that this surface is what I call the world line template that we get to inhabit. And it's a big, massive surface. And if you can imagine pieces of paper floating on each surface, that is your designated pre-birth world line template, is that piece of paper floating on top of that ocean. Okay? And in this video, I want to talk a little bit about the surface of this ocean. Okay? I want to talk a little bit about the world line template as it actually exists. Okay? And remember, in all ways, these are just mental exercises that help us understand things. I think it's a superior way of presenting complex ideas. Okay? Now, if you look at any surface, whether it's the surface of water or the surface of frozen water, ice, or the surface of the table, and you start looking at it at a microscopic level, at a quantum level, or at the very, very small levels, you will see that it's not really a surface at all. You'll see that it's consists of quanta that's floating within this other sea of distance, and they're widely scattered quanta. And as you go deeper into the ocean, the quanta starts getting closer and closer together. In many ways, it greatly resembles stars in space. In many ways. And of course, if the surface of the ocean is turbulent, you're going to have clusters of quanta and movements and period in areas of no quanta, and so on and so forth, right? So that's why you want generally a stable quantum area. Now, when you're a soul and you're trying to determine where to land in a particular reincarnation, you will pick a surface, a template, based upon your objectives. And it may be turbulent or it may be tranquil. And it will be up to you. And obviously, there are going to be other entities that are going to argue for you to go through the worst possible scenario for whatever reason. And I'm a big believer that if you live in a place that it's sunshine all the time, you start to miss the rain. And if you live in the place where it's raining all the time, you start to miss the sun. So basically, you want a life where you want to mix things up. A little bit of hardship with a little bit of happiness. You may have some particular highs and some particular lows, but you do not want a life that's all lows. No matter what anybody else or any other entity tells you. But that's my personal belief. And you can disagree with me. Now, there's other reasons. There may be a host of reasons concerning picking a world line to live on, a world line template to inhabit that is particularly arduous. Perhaps your quanta is totally dysfunctional and needs some major remedies to get it back on track. And some quick, painful events might be just what the doctor ordered, perhaps. But I'm not going to spend too much time on that. Particularly what I want to talk about now is this surface. And as you can see, the surface consists of not a defined surface, but widely scattered quanta. Now, this widely scattered quanta manifests as individual world lines. Individual world lines. So if you look at this, each dot is a world line. I represent this often as a flat sheet of paper or a sheet of paper with topography to depict the relative strengths and weaknesses of manifestation. Nevertheless, there are gradients and elements in each world line that make it different from the other ones. Because if it was the same, they would all be one on top of each other, and they're not. So obviously there are differences. It's obvious, right? So when you as a non-corporal being decide to enter the world and live a pre-birth world line template, you have chosen this world and you have chosen the array of highest probable world lines that you will attempt to navigate through within this physical life. It's not guaranteed that you will take them, but there are high probabilities that you will. For instance, if you won 10,000 US dollars, the highest probability is that you will take it and spend it. The lowest probability is that you will give it to a stranger on the street. Right? Highest probability events are what we deal with when we enter the pre-birth world line template that floats upon the general world line template environment. Now, normally I would start talking a little bit about the world line templates and how they would fit in regards to the pre-birth world line template. And that's a subject, but I'm not going to cover it now. Instead, I'm going to cover the aspects of your soul. You see, as your soul enters the pre-birth world line template, you will find that consciousness is a quantum entity, and it has only one ability, and that is to generate thought. So when you enter a world line template, you enter a physical body, and you are surrounded with other physical bodies that are what I have referred to as quantum ghosts. Because your quanta is occupying one body primarily, but all the other bodies as well. It's a tough thing for us to understand, but it means that you are part of everything, but you're focusing on one thing at the time. The best way to illustrate this is to think in terms of you're sitting in a stadium. All kinds of people, and it's noisy and everything. But if you wanted to, you can focus on the conversation of the people 2 rows ahead of you. If you listen very carefully, you can focus on them. That's the way it works. Your consciousness is focusing on the world line that you are in at this very moment. So basically what's going on now is that your quanta is focusing on this particular body during this set period of time, which we call a lifeline. And you're interacting with all these other people that surround you, but they themselves may not be focused on this world line like you are. So therefore I call them quantum shadows. They exist. You can interact with them. When you're talking with them, they're thinking and you're generating thoughts, because your consciousness is talking with the quantum shadow and the thought is generated. So it does exist. There are exceptions. You are particularly attached to another person, and this other person has also decided to share your world line together with you. And that happens. It happens very commonly with pets, dogs and cats. I know that as far as cats go, a cat will just follow you and it'll die and it'll come right back. It'll focus on the next nearest physical cat body that it can inhabit, or a dog's body if it can inhabit, because dogs and cats are both matrix soul constructions. So as I said before, with my one dog PP passing on, he immediately hopped into the body of a kitten, which I did not welcome into my family at that time for other reasons, which also implies, of course, that all us consciousnesses are all dealing with our own issues, and there's no set unified guidance or rules aside from what we ourselves generate. I have been driven, as of recent, to track down this obscure movie, which I believe is called Meridian. It was made in 2002. I could be wrong. But basically, it seems to be the movie that I'm trying to track down. And Lord help me, I can't find it for shit. Anyways, this movie is about a computer programmer. She starts work at a big company, and she starts going through the code and starts understanding, hey, wait a second, something's weird here. Basically, she finds out that she's a computer code. And so on and so forth. Sort of like Matrix, only without all the gee whiz CGI and stuff and fighting scenes and everything. But the question that the movie seems to ask is if we are part of a software program, if we are software programs that is part of a bigger software program, then who is the developer? So let's look at that aspect. Even though I haven't seen the movie again, let's look at that aspect. Using my descriptive methodology for world lines, templates, quanta, and consciousness, then it would seem to be that there is something that selects this piece of paper that is floating on the ocean. There's something that causes that. What is that? What is that? Who decides that? As I've mentioned before in my writings, as I was being born, I distinctly was repeating to myself over and over and over again, this is going to be a great, exciting life. This is going to be a great, exciting life. This is going to be a great, exciting life. And it certainly has turned out to be quite a life for certain. And so that tells me, certainly, that it was planned. As I was entering this body, I knew that the life was pre-planned. So therefore, I could not remember it. Right? If it's pre-planned, and you pre-planned it, you don't want to remember it. You want to experience it. What fun is it if you, like the Twilight Zone, where the guy makes a deal with the devil, and the devil says, what do you want your tomorrow to be like? And he puts it out, and he knew exactly what's going to happen. What fun is that? It's hell. So you can't remember anything except to know that it's going to be okay. But that was in my case. Is that the case for everyone? No, I don't think so. I personally believe, but I can't tell you for certain, that there are generally two types of people who enter in a pre-birth world line template. The first type is the planned, like myself, where a carefully constructed piece of paper is placed on the ocean of quanta, and you live your lifeline through it from birth to death. And you experience that to obtain experiences and generate thoughts without knowledge, or without foreknowledge, perhaps. Meanwhile, there are also other people that see things as they transpire and immediately knee-jerk back to that template. We see this with a lot of cases of reincarnation. They remember that they were a pilot during World War II. They remember that they were in 911. They remember this, and they immediately come back. Or in the case of my little Pee-Pee, my little dog, how he came back because he wanted to be with me. So there are two ways of doing it. I also suggest that there's a third way, where you don't do it at all, and you stay out there. For me, as exciting as this life has been, I don't know if I ever want to come back again. It's going to have to be one bored puppy to want to endure this kind of shit again. But other people may feel differently. So let's recap here, because I don't want to spend too much time on this particular video. You, as consciousness, either intentionally or accidentally enter into a pre-birth world line template which resembles a piece of paper floating on top of an ocean. When you look at it closely, it's not a flat piece of paper. It's actually a thick, sponge-like piece of paper with world lines up and down and all about that you travel from based upon highest probability of action and attractiveness or repellent. And we live these lives unless we jump to another world line template, which I refer to as a slide. We'll cover slides in another discussion. But essentially, a slide can be viewed in various ways. But the easiest way to imagine a slide is for you to pick up that piece of paper on the ocean and move it to another part of the ocean. And with that, remember, I believe in you. Be the best you can be, and everything's going to be fine. Take care, people. Bye-bye.